we are creating a mass-scale transformation of humanity into a fully empowered, conscious, and cooperative species. These are the thoughts in my brain. So when I come to work and I encounter a difficult situation, I'm immediately triggered back to, well, wait a second, no, we are doing great things and we are constantly winning and succeeding, and I don't let that negative self-talk come back into the process. So again, if you're here with me live, go ahead and type in what are some of those negative thoughts that own you right now, whether that it's not enough or I'm not good enough, I don't have the right education, whatever.
This is starting to become a trend now, a more mainstream trend, where it was trending before because I had been talking about this a lot over the last few years, but more than a trend, more accurate would be to describe this transition as a shifting into another gear. So it had always been moving and running, but the new age agenda has now shifted into another gear. What do I mean when I say that? When these teachers are on their own, doing their own thing, that's one gear. People have to go find these individual teachers. When these individual teachers start to go on to bigger platforms, at least on YouTube, including like Oprah's channel, like Eckhart Tolle went on to Oprah's channel, but he had always kind of been in there. But this is another gear in reference to like YouTube, which is like Eckhart Tolle going on to the Oprah network. And this YouTube thing has only happened within the last few months, if last few weeks, really. But what it is for the people who don't know, what I've been saying over the last like 7 years is that, well, probably like 5 years. The last 5 years is that the New Age program is going to create a situation where they provide all of your spiritual answers to a psychological and physical problem. Whereas before, the system provided all of your psychological answers for your physical problems. So it was the evolution of consciousness dictated or sponsored by the Western colonial system. And as the old system sold you war and protection, like protection through war in a search for freedom, through democracy and capitalism and the Western idealism, now that has crashed and burned and seen for what it is, the American dream and all that bullshit, now that same system of people who created all this, you know, these ideas where people worship them for being the best people ever and providing services for them, now that they're seen for what they are and those systems aren't working anymore, they have to evolve their systems now. And each time the consciousness of the people gets up to a certain space of unveiling how full of shit the system is, they sell another system, another evolution of systems. So an example of this was back in the civil rights time frame, when all that shit was popping off with the civil rights. They were assassinating our leaders. The doggy treat that was sold back then was going to the moon and giving people civil rights. So that was their idea, the system's idea of evolving consciousness. It's like the people are getting too conscious of what's going on. They're calling us on our bullshit. They're seeing how our old ways of racism, white supremacy are no longer, for one example, are no longer enough. White supremacy as a power move is no longer enough. We have to move into a system that can go full throttle with our power, but keep our motives underneath the surface. So they said, here's the civil rights. We're good people. We promise we'll do better for you. We've already built your streets and your roads and your national state parks. So they always tell you the positive, but they will never tell you the negative. And the negative is the 90th percentile of what this system is up to. But since people are only intelligent enough by the conformed system to only experience a 1% of reality. Let's say it's 99 to 1%. Since people are only consciously engaged in the 1% of their consciousness in this reality, then they think the max out of that 1%, which is like the American dream at best, or the physical reality, this illusion. The illusion, they think the illusion, the so-called benefits within the illusion are the best thing in the world. And they do that by saying, like, we are the first world, we are the best world, because the rest of the countries in the rest of the world are third worlds. But they will never tell you that the rest of the countries in the rest of the world are third world countries, because the first world countries soak them from their resources and bomb them to shit and turn them into first world countries or third world countries. So this is how the story has been constantly played. And as long as they destroy, so just in that situation, as long as they destroy something, then they have something to fix. So this is the same thing with like a Donald Trump or all the presidencies. They sell you a shitty president, and then they get everybody riled up about being angry, and then they sell you your first black president or somebody, so-called positive. Old school Bush, after old school Bush, it was Clinton. And then they came with baby Bush, who was just a bigger piece of shit. And then, and then after that, your first black president. And then after, your first black president, you had your Donald Trump. So it's like they always provide the villain and they always provide the superhero. So you can always be sitting around watching the movie as if it's the only thing that can happen in this reality. So yeah, that's the main point, is the system fucks everything so much. It'll fuck up nature, it'll fuck up the elements, the air, the earth, the waters, the people, the psyche. It'll fuck up your body so it can provide the prescription drugs. It'll fuck up the food so it can provide the diet pills. It'll fuck up the air so it can give you like breather or whatever it is. It'll make you overweight so it can make money off of the gym memberships or the exercise or the weight loss pills. This is how this system works when you have all of the systems in and around like the alchemies of like money, all of that stuff. So it's not as simple as, oh, it's the Jews or it's the money system. See, everybody who says that stuff, they say those things because they are sharing with you where they are at on their journey. So if somebody comes, and like on this channel saying, oh, well, yeah, all that you just talked about, like somebody who comments, every now and again it'll happen, somebody will comment on a Bobby Hemmett video and they'll be like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. They obviously never heard of him before, and he's never known that he's been around for like 30 plus years. And say, oh, it's the Jews that are doing all of this. See, this is the thing that so-called white people have a problem with. It's a disease. They think that we are looking for problems, like, as if we haven't experienced this shit our whole fucking lives. That's a proof that they really have no idea of what we're really talking about. Anytime we talk about the system of racism, white supremacy, and systematic institutionalized racism, and then you say somebody comes on to you into that discussion and says, oh, it's just the Jews. Wait. We're not looking for blame. We're talking about an actual system that not only did exist, but exists today. What good is it to say that, oh, it's the Jews, when we're talking about systems today? Is saying that going to do anything? No. So why is that always said all the time? Well, it's because it's a system existing inside the people trying to distract you from your own power, your own recognition of these systems, so you can remove these systems. If you focus on the wrong shit, if you focus your attention like they do when they give you these bad presidents or even the good presidents, it's the same thing. When you focus your attention on them or on it, what you're not doing is focusing your attention on your maximum potential. That's the whole point with all these systems. So they get all these gurus on here after they fucked everything up. They say, oh yeah, spirituality's fucked up. It's been fucked up. Your religion's fucked it all up. Science fucked it all up. Like everything's all jacked up. And now we have to provide you guys with the answers. So here's this London real guy coming on here and saying, every day I think about, the most positive shit ever. And then I try to, do this and then da 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 da, and we here at London Real are about this da 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 da. And why I'm doing this is because this video right now is because this is an addition to, so the Eckhart Tolle thing just came on last night out of just an awareness of just like being like, what the fuck is now he talking about now about the divine purpose of reality? And then I know it's going to be the same shit he's been saying over these last few years. So what's he saying today? Has anything changed? Absolutely nothing has changed. So that's why I did that video, to share with people that absolutely nothing has changed on that end. But then I wake up this morning and then I see that Sadhguru is now on this video. Sadhguru's on this video that was posted today. So that video was posted yesterday with Eckhart Tolle. And then this was posted today. And this is why I said this is shifting into a new gear now, because they always move in like chunks, in sections of energy, because they hope that it's going to catch some tread if everybody moves at the same time. So it's no coincidence that they had David Icke on London Real before they had Sadhguru. Because David Icke has more of a following, a cult following with the New Age community than Sadhguru does. Sadhguru is more, people try to stray away from gurus, so they got to suck you in with the so-called realistic information that gets promoted with David Icke. Because what's real to people who are caught up in that Western world is like politics. If you tie politics into aliens, people are on that shit like white on rice. They love that shit. It's real for them. That's what the system has designed to be real. Politics married with extraterrestrials and underground secret government shit, you sold them. That is the language of the New Age mentality. So how do they do that? They get their main talking heads to how do they tie that positive momentum into the government? Well, they take the New Age talking heads, the speakers, and who talk about that information, they co-opt them, and then they repackage them up into their own YouTube channel or their own perspectives, and then they sell it back out to the masses. And then eventually all these different stories that have been told half-assed up into a certain point, they reach this leveling out of awareness where that is however many hundreds of degrees of separation from your maximum potential. So the whole point is all of this stuff is to take you away from your journey, your soul journey, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. Everything is not meant to be on this whole like we are one, we are all this, we are all that. That is all a romanticizing of your consciousness to maintain control over this reality as a whole through manipulating your consciousness. So they get these talking heads, a part of the New Age community, to evolve the old ways into a new system. The same way they got all the conscious teachers back in the civil rights time frame to evolve the talking points of racism, white supremacy into the idea of civil rights and bettering the government's involvement with the people. So you see how all this stuff is designed to channel your energy right into the system. Once I saw Eckhart Tolle, like I've been watching these guys for the last like 5 years now. And once I saw Eckhart Tolle out there, he's been talking that shit for on Oprah's network for a while now. So I already knew he made that transition. He was one of the first ones to be on that mainstream circuit talking this. We're all one, we're all human, we're all this, we need to just, meditate and come to the space of being one with the divine purpose of experiencing this reality through the form and the formlessness. You know, how fucking simple is that? They can romanticize any idea of this reality and people will buy that shit up like it's nothing. So that was just one random thing to do last night. And then when I wake up this morning, I see Sadhguru on on this London Reel. I've never seen this London Reel YouTube channel until I saw David Icke on it. And then I started seeing all these other, like, it's a style. It's almost like it's London Reel is like the way it's set up as far as its engagement in the mainstream consciousness. It's very similar to like a low budget version or a British version of Alex Jones's InfoWars. So like a mainstream British version of InfoWars is what London Reel reminds me of. And if that's why I'm using them as an example. So if that's the case, then who are the people that London Reel or the London Reel InfoWars, who are the people that they're interviewing, and what is the information that the InfoWars of London, what are they trying to tell you to think and act and feel like? We got to listen to the people that they bring on here. So to finalize or say once again, like all this stuff adding up, like this has been 5 years. This awareness of this system is 5 years in the making, and right now I'm gonna start going even harder now because they're shifting into a gear. That means we have to shift into a gear. We meaning as whoever else is seeing what I'm talking about and working in their own way to deal with this situation, because it is a for the people who take on that perspective or whatever it is, this is a spiritual warfare. And if these spiritual warriors are shifting gears, then it's your responsibility to do the same if you choose to take on that responsibility. So Sadhguru talking about the power of thoughts. When I play this video, I played that one clip so you can see how like his motives. I mean, it doesn't come until later on, and because he has to, get the signing off or the co-signing. He has to get Sadhguru to co-sign his motives. So what are London Reel's motives? Does Sadhguru really have any personal attachments to London Reel's motives? I doubt it. But London Reel does have a personal attachment to what Sadhguru, to the groups of people that Sadhguru talks to. So London Reel's political agendas and beyond that will be helped out by having people like Eckhart Tolle and Sadhguru talk about whatever it is they talk about. And then later on, like I showed you, London Reel or whoever it is, the system will repurpose or they'll reorganize the thoughts that Sadhguru or Eckhart Tolle put out to sell to the people that will channel the information that was said by Sadhguru or Eckhart Tolle back into the system. The same way we were talking about power to the people and bringing the system of race and white supremacy to its knees and to the surface back in the civil rights days. And they say, no, we're in charge here. All we got to do is give you guys civil rights. That'll fix everything. And then all the unaware people, the unconscious people, and all the people who were about that half-ass life, they were like, yeah, we did it. We saved it. We made the government come around and change. That's why they had their leaders go in there and talk to the president. That's why they had everybody, make it about Martin Luther King talking to the president, because that puts Martin Luther King on the same equal playing field as the president, whereas the president is in an illusion. The president exists inside an imaginary field. So when you put your leader up against their leader, it automatically adds credibility or validity to them having any kind of leadership qualities. They don't. They're in a different arena of interaction. You're playing two different games. Like you're in the game of experience through nature and so on, like all the other stuffs that are existing in going to the root sources of this reality. That system, they're in the game, they're in the business of maintaining illusions to keep you outside of your baseline natural, outside of the beyond this realm type of thinking consciousness. They got to keep you out of that shit. Because as long as you're out of that, you're in the world of chaos, confusion, and needing their buildings of your world around your consciousness. So this is why this evolution of information or consciousness is such a slow process, is because it has to make it seem like the system is doing the work itself. The system has to make it look like the people are evolving their consciousness and awakening and becoming enlightened. They're doing it themselves. And not only that, but it has to have a governor on it. The awakening or all that has to have a governor on it. So this is how they make that shit real. But beyond that, it's not about awakening and enlightenment. That's all bullshit. It's all one-sided story, because that whole New Age agenda being about the awakening and enlightenment and all that bullshit is totally devoid of the darkness, the whole other balances of this reality. So this is what I say. The New Age doesn't know shit about the Old Age. It has to demonize the Old Age the same way the New World has to demonize the indigenous people. So the New Age is doing the same thing that the New World did to the indigenous people. They're just doing it to their spiritual interpretations of reality. Underhandedly, the New Age is saying that the ancestral interpretations of the spirit and beyond, they're all full of shit. It's all bullshit. It's really about how we can interpret this reality today, because they still believe in that evolutionary bullshit. And a lot of people are also thinking that technology is tied up into this consciousness evolution too, because they think aliens and extraterrestrials are an expansion or an expression of this higher intelligence or evolved intelligence. So this is how the old timeline or the old what is it called? How you interpret the cosmology of this reality, how you interpret the origins of this universe, this reality. This is how this affects you and mind controls you in the future, because you have no beginning, you have no understandings or overstandings of your beginning. It's just this random thing that happened, Big Bang out of nowhere, that created the planet and possibly other alien activities, because it's such a vast universe. There can't possibly be only us out here. So they say, oh yeah, well the aliens are out there and they have a higher intelligence. That's why they stay away from us, because they're smart. You see how they just imagine all this shit up to make it sound useful? So it's making it sound useful, but also making it sound like it's the only thing that's out there. It's the only thing, because evolution deemed so. Evolution led up to the New Age community. Evolution led up to London Real getting its power and influence over the world. So it's valid like you should listen to London Real because they have an evolved consciousness like Sadhguru on their channel. So this is why people like London Real get people like David Icke and Sadhguru, because as long as they have their name attached to whatever else they're talking about, it validates all their other stuff, because people they don't really they'll just take the whole channel, they'll take the whole London Real InfoWars just because they trust Sadhguru. So they'll see a thumbnail of Sadhguru on London Real and automatically trust London Real. That's how cheap a lot of people are. Childish. And I'm kind of downplaying that, but that's the majority of people. Social media brains. That's what it is right now. It's like, just look at the thumbnail, just look at the title, just look at the, don't even understand or even understand and even get close to understanding what's going on. Just sound like you can talk about the title of the information enough to make it like a Twitter feed. This is what's happened. Twitter people have turned entire encyclopedia, a series of an encyclopedia's work that needs to be done. They've shrunk that down into a Twitter feed, a Twitter statement. So all this spiritual work that needs to be done, that was done by our ancestors, in sharing the process, because that's what it's really about. The spiritual warfare, or the spiritual experience, our expression of in that whole thing, it's not about a destination. It's about how you live your reality, like in every moment of thought and so on and so forth. So that's lifetimes. That takes entire lifetimes. It's about lifetimes. It's not about a statement. It's not about a divine purpose, finding the answer for the divine purpose of the universe. It's not about that. In fact, if you come up with that, that'll be totally counterproductive to the actual shit that's going on. That's why these people are out there, because they want to give you the counterbalance that is looking like, or the counter action that looks like the actual action, but it's counter to your actual process or growth. So I lost my train of thought of what I was saying before, but I'm pretty sure you already get where I'm coming from there. So I'm gonna play this video so you can listen to how this stuff is verbalized, and watch the interaction, because this is how the Western political world is going to pawn off the appearance of evolving itself and changing itself. Just imagine this London Real guy being like some MSNBC or CNN host or something like that. This is how they prep you. They try it out on YouTube, and then once it's done on YouTube, then they kick it over to gear in the television, and they get more people, because that's what it's really about. You test it out on the smaller groups, and then you get into the bigger groups, and when you know it's effective. The same way they do with the military. All the vaccines and all the societal control measures that they put on people, they first test them out in the military. Proof of this is the microchip that you have in your debit card right now was first tested out on the military soldiers with their ID cards. So that was... and they got all the kinks out of it. They called it the cat card back then. They used it. And back then, it wasn't just for banking information. It was for all of your information. Medical records, access codes, like or access points, whatever it was. Everything was on there. So the point being is, like I said, this stuff is designed to... have effects on you that are, way down the line. But since people are so sold into this idea of this commercial version of spirituality and consciousness, they'll just buy this shit and they'll not question it at all. People in the New Age community are actually going to be happy to see Sadhguru on the London Real. This is what the system wants. Ooh, yeah, Sadhguru, finally! He's talking to people who talk about political stuff. That's amazing. Things are really changing. I'm so happy I'm part of this spiritual awakening that's going on right now. People are really waking up and ascending into the higher dimensions of reality right now. We are in a space that is has never happened before. I don't think it'll be too long before the blue avian space beings come down and really start talking the true conscious evolution information that will help us come together as one, as one people, the human race. You see how they're prepping people for this shit right now, and listen to how he.
Sadhguru has an amazing book called Inner Engineering. He is a mystic, a yogi, and there's a lot of people out there that call themselves gurus. And I spent a lot of time vetting Sadhguru. I listened to his stuff. I read his books, and I really think he has a fresh, realistic
trust me,
take on the world. And I think he knows how to get us out of our brains.
I'm a white guy, trust me.
To a way where we can manifest happiness, right inside of us. And
see, that's the thing. This is the whole thing about the New Age community. They are about you. They're about you. As long as the system is about you, then the system doesn't have to be accountable for itself. So what did he just say right there? He said, manifesting happiness. So as long as you manifest happiness in a shitty, chaotic world, then the causers, the people who cause this shitty, chaotic bullshit at the expense of the masses of people, they will never be, brought to justice. They will never be held accountable for anything. So those systems will just continue to grow and get more jacked up. So this is the intention of the New Age community, to just focus all your energy and your willpower, your fire, to kill that all out, to water it all down, and just turn your focus into a higher consciousness. All this fleeting, just empty ass bullshit. Express yourself, like be higher, be better, be a more evolved being. Like I heard on a New Age channel, somebody was talking about, this shit happens all the time, and I'm glad I remember this too. Somebody's talking about, I used to date a guy who was watching scary movies, and I don't watch scary movies because scary movies are low vibration. Like, she didn't say that, but that's basically what the atmosphere is like. Horror movies are obviously of an old consciousness, a lower vibration. I would never watch something like that because I'm more of an evolved being now. I have raised my awareness. But she's dating this guy. Like she was, this is a conversation backstory on that. Like, this is a YouTube channel out there, the New Age YouTube channel. But she's dating this guy. And they're watching a movie because that's what they do. That's what she said. That's what we do. And then he wants to watch a shitty, scary movie, and she wants to watch a love story or something like that. And she puts cartoons on there. Like, what? Because fucking Disney cartoons are spiritual now. Like, a Disney cartoon is a more evolved. Somebody who wants to watch a Disney movie is a more evolved consciousness because they have a kinder heart. You think that's what it is? Like, they're sweeter, they're nicer people because they want to watch fucking cartoons? What are you talking about? And that only exists in comparison to somebody who wants to watch scary movies. So that's their justification for a spiritual evolution. This is why I said in the truther community, it's the same thing. Truth is only truth in comparison to lies. So it's not the real truth. It's not the whole truth. It's only half a truth at best. So awakening is only awakening in comparison to being asleep. This is what's happening in the New Age. So it's not really awakening. It's a fucking illusion. It's a game. So they say, oh yeah, well I'm higher. Why? Because you're lower. And I was down there. Yeah, and they pride themselves. I used to be you. I used to be down there beating myself up all the time. Existing in my ego, in my lower ego, in my lower bodies, in my, they say, but now I'm up here. I've achieved myself. I've conquered my demons, and I am now this and such and such and such. This is what the system is trying to do on a large scale, to spiritually evolve the human consciousness. That whole thing, like all that shit. Well, first of all, what is spiritual evolution? What is consciousness, what is humanity. They don't want to answer any of that stuff. They just want to say that they're doing it. Like, we're doing it. We're evolving consciousness through spiritual, the consciousness of humanity through love and unity and all that other stuff. But they won't go into defining love. They won't go into defining humanity. They won't go into defining spiritual evolution. They will use all those words to just get you to believe and do something, but they won't actually go into. That's when you're dealing with snake oil salesmen.
He has a great thing. He's got a thing called the Isha Foundation, does these massive live events in India, which I'm probably going to go to one day. And I'm a big fan of what he's doing. So this is Sadhguru talking about the power of thought.
Probably going to go there.
A quick 1-minute clip here. And it's all about what is in your brain and how that's going to manifest itself into reality. So here is Sadhguru talking about the power of thought. You're talking the book about thought.
Now keep in mind, manifesting, he only has Sadhguru on here because Sadhguru talks about manifesting thought into reality. Well, what are the actual motives of this London guru guy? What kind of thoughts is he trying to manifest into this reality? Manifesting thoughts of happiness. Well, why the fuck are you jumping straight to manifesting thoughts of happiness? Why don't you manifest thoughts of awareness that will lead to a healthy space of happiness? No. They want you to get to the journey, to the ending point. They don't want you to get to the journey. They don't want you to have lasting happiness, lasting healing, because that involves the journey there. They want you to have always be reaching out to have happiness or whatever it is, just happiness as an example. They have whatever it is that you're looking for has to be somewhere else. And then if they have something somewhere else that they focused everything on, that you're focusing on somewhere else, then they can provide the middleman to get you to that location that is somewhere else. So that's what and that's the whole intention of the system, is to make you looking for something somewhere else, and they have the answers how to get there. So they say, well, these people use different ways to get there, and this is for brown people. Sadhguru, he talks about I might go to one of his conventions, but I don't know yet. I'm leaving it out for after this interview because he might just be full of shit. Like, that's what the people on London Real, the British people, like, oh, who is this brown person coming on? He looks like a regular guru. I don't want to listen to any of this bullshit. It's just guru talking. I might as well go to some Gaia TV or something, London Real. Like, what is this? So he has to appeal to them and show his... I'm not completely comfortable with this guy, but, he sounds pretty good, so just bear with me. It's only a 6-minute and 50-second video, so hopefully this clip will get people, and then get people to go to the longer version, and then when they get there, then hopefully they'll listen to him, and then hopefully move to Eckhart Tolle, and then they can get closer to manifesting their feelings of happiness, but they will never get into manifesting their the journey to happiness. You'll manifest the idea of happiness, and that's all he wants to do. That's all this guy has Sadhguru on his channel for, to help people figure out a way to spiritually escape reality.
We're obsessed with thoughts in this world, and I'm thinking this and I'm thinking that. In the book you talk. So
you must understand, when I say I'm thinking this, another way of saying it is, I'm making up this, I'm making up that. You can make up whatever you want, as long as you enjoy it.
But that can be dangerous, always trying to think of this.
You see how... You see how they have to sell with the extremes? That could be dangerous. Same thing. Oh, you don't want us to. You don't want to lose. The government or the trust in all this other stuff. It could be dangerous. Who the fuck is gonna build the roads and the bridges out there? It could be dangerous. They always have to sell that because it makes, if they're scared all the time, this is why fear is a heavy thing in the system. If they're scared all the time, then that means that they're not the bad guys. Because in movies, who are the bad guys? The people who are making the people scared, who are inflicting the fear on people. So this is why the system has to play the victim and the aggressor all the time, because the aggressor is the strong man, the father figure, the one who takes care of business and fights terrorism. But the victim is the mother figure, the one who takes care of business at home and is looking for answers and all that shit. That's how they play your mother and father. So they play the aggressor and the victim. And as long as they're playing that victim role, then they make their consciousness, their information that they're talking about, it's more relevant, it's more important, it's more truthful. This same thing happened in the flat earth community. When I was talking about my perspectives that I'm still saying to this day, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, about flat earth and the people in flat earth, when I was saying what I was saying, it was just as true back then, but the people, they weren't digging it because they were digging too much the individuals that were about that flat earth life. They were like, oh yeah, what do you mean? How could you, Mark and Patricia are only talking about unity and bringing people together, and flat earth is going to save the day. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? First of all, it's not even about that. Why are you, so you see how they suck everything in there, they make themselves out to be the victims, and then they distract you from the whole point. See, so nobody's talking about the point that I was making. They're talking about the person that they think I am. That's what was happening on this channel. It's still happening to this day. 3-4 years ago, because people who are in that space are more interested in the storyline. It's not about actual forward progress. They just want to be involved in. This is the thing. People want to be involved to a certain degree. They want to be involved with involved to look like they're involved, but ultimately really be hands off. They don't want to be doing anything. They just want to look like they're doing something. Because on the internet, as long as you look like you're doing something, it can be pawned off as actually doing something. Whereas in the real world, you can't do that. If you look like you're doing something, then you just a fake ass motherfucker just looking like they doing something. You ain't really about shit. So this is what the whole system is. It tells you it saves the world. It fights terrorism. It provides, democracy and freedom and all this other stuff, but it really ain't doing shit. It never has. It's only been doing something for itself. And these are the mechanisms it does it. It plays the victim, it plays the aggressor, it plays a superhero. And at the end of the day, as long as they're telling you how to think, act, and feel, it doesn't matter what they say as long as they control how you think, act, and feel.
Always trying to be your thoughts.
See, if you become what you make up, unfortunate, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your thoughts belong to you or you belong to the thoughts. You must make up your mind.
They can be dangerous, those thoughts.
Yeah, there it is again. Your thoughts belong to you, or you can belong to your thoughts. That very deep statement right there can go so far, but what does he do? It could be very dangerous, because he's talking to his audience. He's talking about, how his audience thinks, and that's why because they need fear to sell agendas. Dangerous. He's talking about thoughts in life. Why the fuck does it have to go to danger? Because that's the only way that they are, that's what's more comfortable for them. They like that terrorism shit, that war shit, that destruction. That's how they learn. This is why I say it's so important to get into the differences of people. See, other people are not, on the whole, are not going to be like, as soon as they listen to Sadhguru, they're not going to automatically go to danger like he does. But this is why I said there's a very definite difference within people that... Unplug this. There's a definite difference in people that is not being acknowledged because this whole we're all one, we're all the same storyline is being sold over and over and over again. I'm saying no. In order to really face these monsters that exist out there, we have to get into the details, the fine details. You have to get into the language of what's going on. You can't just throw this flowery shit out there, because if you throw that flowery shit out there, you'll realize that the actual enemy, the criminals that are inside, the criminals that you're looking for, the criminal consciousness that you're looking for, is inside what they are saying is good for you. It's hidden underneath there. It's hidden underneath this idea of betterment and providing and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
They're not dangerous. They're fantastic. Only thing is, fantastic things mishandled can kill you. A car can kill you, isn't it? It's a wonderful thing, an automobile. It's made our lives. If you handle it irresponsibly, it kills you.
And that's Sadhguru. I love this line when he says, your thoughts belong to you, or you can belong to your thoughts. And I've had a lot of guests on London Real that have come on here and basically said that you are your thoughts and you are your words. And it sounds really simple. And if we live in this materialistic, interconnected world, it's really hard to not understand that and say, no, look, it's about having the jet. It's about having the...
So you see how he's playing the role of the evolving consciousness person, the Western evolved consciousness guy. And doing his comparisons of old ways of thinking. Like the old gurus used to say, it's all about your thoughts and stay out of your thoughts. But now it's about your thoughts are, whatever, how he's breaking it down. That's the danger here. People are buying into this shit as if it's just some kind of fast food version of, I don't have to go any further than that. The people who are going to get this information know exactly what I'm talking about. I just wanted to bring this to the surface. Let me play this a little more. So I'm going to play a little more so you can get more of an example of how this system works, how this system is constantly generating these systems of thought to affect the greater, the mass consciousness. Let's see what else he says.
Money. It's about having the beautiful clothes, the bling. That's what happiness is, because that's what we see all around us.
Here's
and that's
this
what
happiness
we're shown
shit
in
again.
magazines and in movies. That's what it means. But that's actually not true.
Same thing like the movie with Will Smith, The Pursuit to Happiness. Everything is about happiness. Everything is about love. And those two words, and I'll get into this in the next video, because the term happiness is sold with the term love in the same way that love is sold in the mainstream as a thing. I'll get into that before, but you can see even more so in here how peace and love and happiness is just another way of saying conformity. Be dormant. Be shut down. Don't be happy about this system. Love this system. Be peaceful so that you don't fight this system. That's why they play these roles.
All you are your thoughts, and those can be controlled by you, or they can own you. And that's why it's really important to get into a practice, even a daily practice, of putting those powerful thoughts in your head, choosing the thoughts and the words that you use, and then making sure that you're constantly meditating.
You see how this is this is like kindergarten? This is like all basic shit for people. But if he was selling like a $19.99, get your version of consciousness, here, money back guarantee. Like that's what this shit sounds like. Like you have to think pretty thoughts, think happy thoughts, and happiness will manifest into your reality. You see how this, it's cheap. It's cheap on what I'm saying. The whole point is that it's cheap on purpose and not from this, oh, he's just talking shit. about whoever. No, it's cheap because it's being used by the system.
On those thoughts. And we have a great guest in here called Marissa Peer, who has people repeat this phrase over and over again, which is, I am enough, I am enough, I am enough. And she said the words we use to describe things makes everything toxic. She had a friend that said, my job is killing me. My job is killing me. She would say it all the time. And Marissa's like, okay, well, guess what? Sooner or later, you're going to get sick and you're going to manifest those words because you're actually...
Okay, I'm not going to play any more of this. This is what that boils down to. What this all boils down to is the system wants you to be spiritual up to a certain point. And that point is spiritual up to the point of being zombified out of acknowledging the depths of how fucked up this system is. It wants you to be spiritual up to the point to where you don't do anything to address the actual systems that are running rampant through this new age, new world colonial program. That's basically what it boils down to. And they will get any kind of spiritual teacher to convince you of that. So-called spiritual teacher to convince you of that. They will pick up anybody who tells you some kind of spiritual practice that will help you not deal with or even think about the situations at hand on a macro scale. That's the intention of the New Age, to distract your micro and your macro from all of the macro and focus all of the intention on the micro. So they'll sell you this whole idea of service to self and service to others. These are the people who serve themselves. These are the people who serve their others. These are the good guys and these are the bad guys. And then at the end of the day, all it is about finding happiness. And then we're a mixture of all of it, the good and the bad. And you just got to find happiness. Like, that's some old cheap ass bullshit that would only be sold by people coming from like the OWN network. That's the whole laugh in your face bullshit. That's Oprah, the OWN network. They own your ass. They ain't the OWN network or whatever it is. They own your fucking soul.